Sports Salad, where everything's in the mix.
What's going on, guys? You are listening to Sports Salad. It is March 29th, and we're coming at you from a very gloomy Detroit, Michigan.
And today we got an interesting week. We're coming at you with our mix week, where we're going to cover a bunch of different topics. We're going to range everywhere from basketball to football, down to the college league. Keep it interesting, keep it going. So today we're going to mix up a lot of topics, and we wanted to start off with these interesting, is how I'd word it, rankings that ESPN dropped. And personally, I think it's more embarrassing than it is interesting.
I will definitely agree there. I was actually sitting, when I saw this pop up on my phone, I actually became infuriated when I saw these rankings. It's just a big joke, is what it seems to me.
The worst part about the rankings to me is when I went through and read each individual ranking and why they were where they were, is the fact that they don't even give you a direct reason on why someone like Tim Duncan is 24th in the most influential list. Meanwhile, we got two coaches at, 17 and 18 or 18 and 19? It's embarrassing. But nonetheless, the list kicks off with Michael Jordan at 1, LeBron at 2, Magic Johnson at 3. We come in with Bill Russell at 4, Wilt 5, Kareem 6, Oscar Robertson 7, Dr. J at 8, Larry Bird at 9, and Steph Curry rounds out the top 10.
So then after that, for whatever reason, this graphic here shows the 11 and 12, and I think it's to really showcase the absurdity of putting Jerry West 11 and Kobe Bryant number 12.
So what they did is take someone in the likes of Kobe Bryant and just toss him out of the top 10. I know maybe their argument is that him and Jordan are too similar of a player, which is, to me, absurd. I don't care how similar you are when you're debatably one of the greatest of all time and you're just tossed out of the top 10. What, he didn't change the game as much as Jordan did? You're telling me Oscar Robertson changed the game much more than Kobe? Larry Bird shooting from the corner as well because he's the first white guy to do it? I mean, it's
Show some
embarrassing.
respect to Larry Legend here, but I get what you're saying. I don't know what panel selected this list. It definitely looks like it was meant to create headlines rather than actually give us a fair analysis of these players.
On top of that, at the bottom it says, our NBA panel voted more than 11,000 times. What, did you have, 5 guys vote 11,000 times? What, maybe they changed their minds after, breakfast? Oh, now Kobe's 15 as opposed to 8? I don't understand where they even came up with their, rubric on how to figure out these game-changing rankings.
Right, so what really is a game changer? The way I look at a game changer is you can only impact the game as so much as you are a great player. How great are you to actually change the game? And Tim Duncan, number 24, and you've got Elgin Baylor ahead of him?
One thing that tosses me, right at the beginning, they say on and off the court. So by off the court, I assume they meant coaching because they tossed in 2 coaches at 18 and 19, and Pat Riley and Phil Jackson. That's what I thought they meant, but I don't know exactly what they even specifically meant by off the court. Do they mean they're outside of the NBA contributions, they were good humanitarians? Is that what we're talking about now? Because maybe Julius Erving and Larry Bird were better people than Kobe Bryant. Maybe that's why Kobe's at 12.
I don't know if you've ever listened to any of the rap songs Kobe put out back in his heyday. That would move him automatically. That's automatic top 3.
Easily top 5. There's no doubt about it.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
One thing I did like seeing is Allen Iverson is somewhere on the list. If Kobe's 12, I figured AI would be maybe 70th, even though he's debatably the only guy to lead a team to the finals alone.
Right, I was actually shocked from what else I saw from this list. I thought AI was just forgotten as an NBA player. They had that other ranking came out not too long ago. Steph Curry, automatic better point guard than Isaiah Thomas and Allen Iverson. So ESPN's really fallen off the rocker.
Then on top of that, I know there's one name that you guys might not have heard. Maybe you guys never heard of this guy. I think it was Shaquille O'Neal. But he's not influential at all. Not top 15 in history. This guy was massive. This guy changed the game in the post. He did everything. The guy, I feel like he had 30 rebounds a game in the early 2000s. The guy did what he wanted down low.
He just dominated. It's absurd. You've got 2 guys that contributed to a three-peat in the 2000 time, the 99, 2000, 2001. Those series were amazing to watch, and you've got them out of the top 10. It just makes no sense to me.
What they seem like they're doing is that they're saying that Phil Jackson carried the team because, I mean, he's one of the game changers. Was triangle offense. That worked great for Carmelo Anthony in New York. I mean, I don't know. I don't get it at all. The fact that you could put 2 coaches ahead of Tim Duncan, the fact that Kobe's number 12, this list was just demoralizing to see in the morning. I don't know. I don't even know where to continue from.
Maybe it's us. Maybe we're reading it into it too much, or we know too much because it shocked, right? It just angered you. That was my quick reaction. I was just mad looking at this.
The more I look at it, the more it frustrates me. So what we're going to do is we're going to slide into our next thing, which is Karl Anthony Towns' career night last night. 56 points, shooting, 57%, I believe?
Yep.
Like, that's just out of this world. This guy does it all, too. He gets rebounds. He's a good defender. He's carrying this average Timberwolves team into the Western Conference playoffs. I mean, the guy's doing it all right now. And that was a night to really showcase who he really is.
Yes, I mean, if you really want to talk game changers, future game changer, he's the man. Karl Anthony Towns is a big that only comes around once in who knows how long. I know when he came into the league, people were comparing him to Tim Duncan, but he's far surpassed the skill set of Tim Duncan. The way the guy can play around the perimeter. One knock I'll give him, his defense isn't the greatest, but I mean, when your offensive repertoire is what he has, you have some room to improve. That's fine.
Part of him, like you're saying, surpassing in a way Tim Duncan is it's mainly athletic ability that I see.
Right.
But that's part of the thing that these guys coming out of college. I mean, coming out of high school, not even college, they come out and they're already just beings. I wouldn't even call them humans. Like the things they can do out there, the length they have, the athleticism, the verticals they have. I mean, you got guys like looking at Jaren Jackson from MSU. He's like 6 something, almost 7 foot, and he can pull from 3. I mean, the guy does it all too. He can step out. Cat steps out and shoots. DeMarcus Cousins, he's built like Shaq, but he can pop threes every once in a while. Like I mean, come on, it's getting out of hand, but it's interesting to watch.
Another guy too, Joel Embiid. All these bigs that we're bringing up. Like think back in the day when you see Joel Embiid, he's at the 3-point line, he's crossing up defenders, is Euro stepping. When has a big man been Euro stepping?
I mean, I don't know, but that's the game I guess we're living in. And so you want to talk about game changers? We can bring up guys like these animals that we got coming in and out in today's world because they're doing it all right now.
I definitely agree there. Honestly, like future is looking very bright with these youngsters in the league. That's for sure.
Speaking of the future, the breaking news that I heard today that completely blew my mind: Darius Bazley committed to Syracuse University. So a lot of people might not know him yet. Number 8 overall ranked recruit on 24/7 Sports. Decommitted from Syracuse and entered the G League.
The G League, people. The G League.
I mean, this could be huge. In a way, it might not be a big deal, but now let's say in a week we hear Zion Williams decommits from Duke. Let's say we hear something along those lines. You're talking about these big-name recruits avoiding college. I mean, that could be huge for the sport. College basketball could, I don't want to say cease to exist, but this could be detrimental to the sport of college basketball.
I mean, this is all in the same time frame as all these talks about, like, should you pay your student athletes? Is it right? Is it morally? I think it's absolutely right. You should pay them. They're bringing in loads and loads of money to the schools. But, I mean, this is a potential top 10 pick. This is a 5-star recruit. This isn't just some good player. This is great. This is top of his class. So I mean, this could make waves in the future.
I mean, looking at it, like historically, we've seen guys go to college who are 4-stars, maybe just barely 5-stars. Some of those like pretty good players, good to great, go into college. Sometimes they hurt themselves more than they help themselves. If you're listening to the beginning of the year, we heard all about Michael Porter. He was a lock for the 1st overall pick, 1st, 2nd. That was a debate. There was no doubt about it. There was like, oh, will the Cavaliers be able to sneak up and grab Porter with that Brooklyn pick? There was all types of different talks that I was hearing about Michael Porter. Now, you look at mock drafts, I mean, he fell hard.
He did.
You're talking about like just barely in the top 10. Sometimes he's even falling out on a few. So, I mean, he hurt himself. I know he was injured, but he literally physically hurt himself this year. And on top of that, destroyed his own draft stock. So then there's a guy like today we also heard that Nick Ward from Michigan State was not getting an agent, but not decommitting, but leaving Michigan State, going to the NBA, going to the draft. usually what's going to happen is he's going to go to the combine. Everyone's going to tell him they don't like him. He's going to be surprised because he thinks he's better than he is. I saw that this year at Michigan State. But he's going to come back, and he's going to see that he's going to be there for 4 years, and he's going to end up like Deontay Davis, is what I'm seeing, if he doesn't get his act together.
I could definitely see that. And I mean, a lot of this is just pointing to friction to me. I mean, there's just friction agent-wise, money issues, these kinds of things. I just feel like they're just going to keep inflating and inflating. Every day it feels like you hear more and more about how dissatisfied these athletes are with, not being paid by these schools.
And we've seen over the last few years people leaving America going to Europe to play. We saw that with Moutier. He went to Australia, so not necessarily Europe.
China, I want to say.
Regardless, he left America, went to foreign lands to play, get paid to play. LiAngelo Ball, I know, it's a funny story, Ball brothers, but I mean, he left college to go play somewhere else. I don't think he's going to get drafted, but still, now you got this guy leaving Syracuse to go to the G League. Players want money. They want to be paid. If he's going to go to the G League and get whatever their minimum salaries are, I don't know, $25,000, $50,000 a year, he's fine with that. He doesn't need that $100,000 scholarship that he's never going to do anything with. This guy doesn't care about schooling. You guys saw what happened with Ben Simmons. He wasn't eligible for awards because of how little he cared about his schooling. I mean, that's crazy, but that's the way it is.
Now, another thing, too, with this G League aspect, I mean, you skip the entire draft process. You don't have to work out for these teams. You don't have to listen to what they want to tell you. These G League teams are essentially subsidiaries of real NBA teams. So let's say the team wants to call you up. It's as simple as that. If you're playing for their subsidiary team in the G League, you get called up, you're in the NBA the next day.
Nonetheless, it's going to be really interesting to watch going forward, to see what exactly happens with Darius and how he develops. And maybe this turns into a new thing. Maybe LeVar Ball was onto something when he said he wants to make his little summer league or development league after high school for all the players. Who knows? Maybe that's the next thing we see. Or maybe LeVar buys his own G League team. Keeps it interesting.
Yeah, all in all, something to keep an eye on for sure. If I'm Adam Silver, I'm really interested. I'm intrigued with what Darius Bazley has decided to do here.
If I'm Adam Silver, I'm all over this. I would do whatever I could, try to lift up the revenue, try to find some TV rights. You want to get these players like the Zion Williams, like these other players that are coming out of high school. You want to get them and throw them in your league as early as possible. Jump on this revenue. And get these players out of college. They don't want to be there. There's no reason to force them there. I mean, G League, you can always go back. You can technically always go back to college. You still have your eligibility, from my understanding at least. So if I'm Adam Silver, I'm all over this. I'm turning the G League into something on NBA TV every day. Or I'm talking to Fox or somebody, trying to get the big games on Monday mornings or some crap. Just trying to get them on TV.
Yeah, I mean, the more players you get, the more viewers you're going to attract, especially if they're top quality players. If you're getting 5-star recruits to go there. Another thing, too, their development is going to be at such a more rapid pace. No one's going to argue that these players in college are going to be on the level of these formerly known D-League, now G-League players. They're definitely on their own level.
I mean, you can't necessarily assume that the college level is at the G-League level, because you got a bunch of colleges that have these guys who come in redshirt for a year, and then they're just getting their legs together years 2 and 3. So I would assume that a lot of times the G League is harder competition.
Oh, no, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. So in the G League, you have a bunch of you have older men too, older guys who are just playing because they have nothing else to do. These guys are playing for their lives. They're trying to get back into the NBA or try to get into the NBA for the first time.
No, you're not having 4 games out of the year. You're playing some college from who knows where. You're playing against their guys that just walked onto the court. No, you're playing against real athletes. You're playing against potential NBA players. It's a big difference.
I mean, at the end of it all, it's interesting. It's a nice development, and we're going to see where it leads. That's what I want to see. What happens from here? I think this could be the beginning, I don't want to say of the end of college basketball, because college basketball always had its greatnesses. March Madness will still be great. Whether Zion Williams is playing for the Austin Alamo or whatever they're called, or the Grand Rapids Drive or wherever he is, or if he's playing for Duke. Either way, March is going to be intense. That bracket's going to be fun. So college basketball isn't going to die, but it'll be interesting to see how these developments affect everything. Because we saw just last year the NCAA made $1 billion, I think it was, in revenue, or something like that. They made a crap load of money. So now let's say same thing. Will they make the same amount without these stars? Will they not? Will it actually affect them? I mean, odds are college football is where the revenue gets in anyway. But it's interesting to see. It's an interesting development, like I said.
Yeah, I mean, it's a waiting game. Who knows? A couple of years, not a couple of years. Well, who knows? We'll see. But G League madness possibility.
Oh God! Get out of here! No way. Another interesting article, that one that I saw, was by 538.com, analytical website, and they were talking about what injury most greatly affects the NBA playoffs. And they had who I thought was the answer on the cover, being Steph Curry.
Mm-hmm.
And then I clicked on it, and I saw that they had Steph Curry's basically injury effect greatly hurting the Warriors' finals run. Because they had him all the way down to about 9% chance of making the NBA Finals.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that's a little out of hand, but the first thing I thought was Steph Curry. And then you kick it around and you think Kyrie's down for the Celtics. No one knows how long he'll be out. Kawhi might not play at all, might come back. That's huge. LaMarcus Aldridge just got this knee contusion. Supposed to play tonight, but God knows what that leads to. On top of that, you got Joel Embiid with his cryptic Snapchat message yesterday, Instagram message. What is it? Good. What was the message exactly? I completely forgot, but it was like...
Yeah, I mean, he took a hit with Markelle Fultz, and, I mean, he'll be fine.
It's injuries left and right.
Right.
It's just stuff coming out left and right. You never know what's coming up. John Wall, is he back?
So John Wall he should be back. They said this weekend. The way I look at that, though, is he making the team better when he comes back? I feel like from what we've seen since he went down, they've been better without him, and those sub-tweets from Gortat, great team victory. It's not like he's going to change the Wizards' fate. I just look at either the Kyrie injury, too. Anything in the Eastern Conference, it's just not going to matter at the end of the day because I see LeBron just walking his way through there, as he always does. West is a lot more interesting story. Steph, first round, they could definitely make it out of. Unless, let's say, the crazy thing happens and the Spurs drop down to 7. Kawhi comes back. Warriors play them. That 9% all of a sudden doesn't look that, absurd. It looks very realistic. But who knows? Who knows with these injuries?
Nonetheless, at the end of the day, if all the injuries hold, let's say Steph's out, Kyrie's out, Kawhi's out. Just those three. We'll look at those three mainly. Which injury most drastically affects the team's chances of advancing through the first round? What would you say?
Through the first round?
Yeah, just the first round is where we're going to start.
I would go with Kyrie. I think the Celtics are going to need someone that knows those pressure moments. They're not going to have an easy walk through the first round without him. I mean, Terry Rozier, one game he could be lighting it up. The next game, a guy's 0 for 8 shooting.
I agree in that statement purely for the fact that we don't even know who they're going to play yet. And if they do play a team like Miami or the Bucks, they have a whole roadblock in front of them. That's a solid team that's coming in. And especially a team like the Bucks where you got Bledsoe coming up and you lost your best point guard, your best player, and your starting point guard, that's detrimental to your chances. You never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
I'd assume the Celtics would still get through, but we said the greatest effect, and I think that one is the most greatest effect on the first round.
Yeah, I mean, assuming Steph Curry is just out for the first round and it's nothing more than that, that's fine. They can make it through that first round. KD can do enough. Clay can step up. Draymond, we all know what they can do as a unit. The Kawhi one, in the whole sense of the entire playoffs, I think it has the biggest possible impact. With the way LaMarcus Aldridge is playing, if him and Kawhi can coexist and Kawhi can come in and give you just solid defense, some shooting, he doesn't have to be the Kawhi of old, but that's... Who knows, honestly.
But the main thing about that is we're assuming Kawhi is either out full playoffs or back in the playoffs. With the other two, we're assuming just first round they're out. Mm-hmm. So let's say Kyrie and Steph are out full playoffs too. So basically what I'm trying to say is Kyrie, Kawhi, Steph, who's the most instrumental player to their team?
I would have to say that, with a little bit of bias creeping in here, I'd say Kawhi, just because I think he just elevates them further than the other do. They just don't have the help that the Warriors have without Steph. I mean, Boston, whatever, but the East isn't winning it this year either way.
The one reason that I disagree with you is LaMarcus Aldridge looks like Portland Trailblazers LaMarcus Aldridge right now. While Kawhi was there, LaMarcus Aldridge looked more like old Rasheed Wallace.
True. I mean, we saw a glimpse. Of what they can do together when they played the Warriors. They coexisted well in that first game before Kawhi went down.
First game for 2 quarters though. Like I said, we've never seen them two put it together for the course of a solid 7-game series against some good competition. So I understand your logic, but I would go Kyrie is the most instrumental to that Celtics team. They're already down Hayward. So losing Kyrie, that team to me looks like a 7 seed, not a freaking 1 or 2 seed.
I definitely see where you're coming from with that. One aspect I have to throw in there is, like I said, Kawhi, when he comes back, chances are, most likely, he's not going to be the Kawhi. Well, he's not, 100%. Could we essentially see LaMarcus Aldridge step into that alpha role, which he is right now by far, and Kawhi kind of plays that backhand role?
Interesting.
Just out of pure ability, just that not being 100%. Would that be the best thing they could do as a unit?
It's possible. Kawhi's the type of player who could sit in the corners and shoot threes. He can turn into a really good Danny Green.
Right.
Defend the point guard and hit threes in the corner when he needs to. He's definitely an upgrade from whatever they have in their starting lineup right now. No matter what position you'd remove to put Kawhi in, that team's better. So, I guess. But at the end of the day, we just have to see how that shakes out. So now we're just going to slip into the NFL and what's going on in the NFL right now, mainly with Odell Beckham. Can you see the Giants actually trading this guy?
I hope they're not foolish enough to trade Odell, unless, there's some stuff behind the scenes we can't see. Does he really, want out of there? I feel like he doesn't. I feel like he likes it there.
At the same time, it depends on what they get in return. If they do get these 2 first-round picks that they're asking for, I think it'll be worth it. That team looks like a dumpster fire right now. Their quarterback is Eli. I think you're better off with whatever they have as the backup. What is it, Geno Smith? I think he's still the backup. Even if he's not, whatever they draft.
For their sake, I hope he isn't, but...
Nonetheless, that team looks like they have nothing. That O-line was a joke last year. That was absolutely abysmal. People were running through them like they were freaking revolving doors. Everyone was just creeping right through. Running back-wise, they're using, 7 random guys again this year? Or are they actually bringing in a decent guy? Probably not. So I don't see anything on that team that's even remotely dangerous or interesting. So it might be a good idea to get rid of OBJ if you can get enough back. So that all depends on the packages that they're being offered.
So let's say they do decide, let's get rid of Odell. Boom, he goes to the Cleveland Browns, reunites with Jarvis Landry. They got him, Landry. They draft Saquon Barkley. They end up getting someone at QB that can actually put it all together. Let's say they
have Tyrod right now.
Oh, yeah, they do have Tyrod. He's manageable. What do you think of that team?
What I will say is if they're getting OBJ, they're probably trading away that number 4 pick. And with that number 4 pick, they're probably including something else in the package. So now you have a receiving core of, I'd probably go Josh Gordon on one side, OBJ maybe in the slot or on the other, Jarvis slot or the other. So basically you got those 3 across. Solid running back. Good O-line. Solid D-line. Showed last year that they can play. Myles Garrett looked like a beast on the line last year. Mm-hmm. They have a okay secondary. It's not great, but it handles itself relatively well. Are the Cleveland Browns actually a good team? With or without OBJ is the first way I want to ask you. Because that team right now looks pretty good.
Yeah, even without them, let's say they aren't. It might even be better if they can hang on to that number 4 pick. That might be more valuable in terms of what they need as a team. If you've already got Jarvis and Josh Gordon, is wide receiver really your first, go-to move, or do you got to fill some other holes in first?
Can you see the Browns making the playoffs next year? For example, I'll give you 2 of their draft picks. So at 1, they take Saquon. Or at 4, I think they can even sneak through with Saquon. But whatever. Let's say at 1, they take Saquon. At 4, they take maybe whatever quarterback's left to develop for the future, to back up Tyrod, to maybe become the quarterback of the future. Mm-hmm. Or let's say they take another defensive guy on the defensive line or anywhere else. Doesn't even matter. So all in all, a solid pick in Saquon, starting next to Hyde. So you got that role reversal kind of going with both of them. They can even move Saquon to the slot. That guy's a hell of a ball catcher. And then another guy who's more of a future player. So who cares about that one? All in all, the team right now, and you throw Saquon back there. Can they make the playoffs?
That's a question that I hope to answer with a yes, but just deep down inside me with the ineptitude that the Browns consistently show, I don't see them making the playoffs. They might have those pieces, but they don't know how to put it together, it seems. They're just set to be a losing franchise unless something drastic happens, which those draft picks might be the answer, don't get me wrong, but they were not that bad of a roster this previous season to go winless. So, it's a waiting game in that aspect, but I do not see them making the playoffs.
So, here's what I'm going to toss at you right now. This is their TBA schedule as of right now. So, they're going to play Tampa, who looks average-ish. Then they got the Steelers twice, they got the Ravens twice, and they got the Bengals twice.
Mm-hmm.
So that division looks decent. The Steelers look good. Bengals and Ravens I wouldn't even be slightly worried about, but
Right.
I guess we'll see. They play John Gruden's Raiders. They play the Saints, the Texans, the Broncos, who got Case Keenum. They play the Jets, dumpster fire. The Chargers will look decent. The Chiefs, who are trading away everybody. And the Panthers, who are in the middle of this like sale, rebuild thing. No one even knows what's going on with that. So their schedule doesn't look impossible. Of course, you never know with the NFL. It's different when it actually kicks off.
Mm-hmm.
Then on top of that, the team looks pretty good. I think they could slip in as a wild card for sure.
I mean, yeah, they have winnable games. They might put together a hell of an offense. I mean, already a good defense. But it's the Browns. It's not changing. They're still the Cleveland Browns, and just I do not see it from them.
Well, I mean,
I really don't.
I completely understand. And then to finish off the show, we're going to come in with one of the most recently mind-boggling things we heard about.
It's a good way to put it.
These NFL rule changes. One of them I like, the new catch rule, where the player's got to catch the ball, and if he makes a football move. So now it's a little bit different. Now he sticks the ball out. Mm-hmm. It's a football move. So now he still has the ball. He's not like, I don't know. I understand the logic a little bit. It feels like it's a little more common sense oriented now.
Yes.
The problem with the catch rule that I see is it still seems like they left it in the ref's court to decide. And we all know how these refs are with deciding these calls. Before they went by the book, an excuse was, oh, by the book, that's what it is. But some of the calls we saw and some of the holdings and some of the things, I know there's holding on every play or whatever, but I don't know how I feel about the refs being able to decide catch, not catch.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you leave it up to the refs to ultimately decide what could be the most important play of the game, and they're kind of looking at themselves, scratching their heads, there's no definitive answer, and they make the wrong call, it's recipe for disaster. I don't like it at all. They need to get it together, but how? How is the question.
But the real rule change that everybody's screaming about, the new helmet rule. So from what I understood, attacking or defensive player initiates contact with the crown of his helmet, he can be ejected. Putting his head down initiates contact, he could be ejected. So let's say a guy like LeGarrette Blount. The guy runs with his head down, doesn't care who's in front of him. Are we just going to inject him in the first quarter of every single game? Just kick him right out?
Good luck trying to tackle LeGarrette Blount without putting your helmet down, without bracing for
That's what I'm
impact.
saying. What are you guys supposed to do? Get on their knees and get ready for Blount to come try to wrap his knees up? Then on top of that, the NFL's not worried about the possible ACL tears and the shots that people are going to be taking dead at the knees. Tell me this, you're a safety, sitting in the middle of the field, OBJ is slanting across, jumped up, got the ball, he's right in front of you. So now your options are tackle him like you should, which from what my understanding is you square up your body, look at him, and you take him down. I always thought helmet to chest was clean, but I guess that's not clean anymore. So now you got to look dead at him, and you got to somehow wrap him. What's the best way to do it? Throw myself at his knees. That's the first thing I would do as a player.
Right, and that's looked at as dirty, though.
Yeah, but what am I supposed to do? I can get ejected. I can lose money, my game checks. I'm a dirty player because I tackled normally. So now my problem is I think this is going to be dangerous, especially for wide receivers. That's the real thing I want to see.
And one big thing, not only do I feel bad for these defensive backs and just defensive players in general, I feel bad for these offensive players too. Let me tell you why. The more and more we take away from the defense in terms of what they are allowed to get away with and in terms of how physical they can be with the wide receivers and running backs, it kind of takes away from the offensive players too. You look back in the day, what, for example, Jerry Rice or any legendary wide receiver can do. And let's say Odell racks up those same stats. But you're looking at it in the future and you're like, oh, but come on, Odell, like what kind of defense did he have to play against as compared to the guys of old? And that's discredit to Odell and whoever else may be in that category.
No, I mean, you're honestly not wrong at all. I mean, I've heard it today. From what I understand, a lot of people are saying they're trying to get rid of offensive and defensive lines with these new rules. I mean, and you can't even argue. So soon, what are we gonna do? Put a quarterback back there, give him 10 seconds to get rid of the ball. Watch the wide receivers and cornerbacks tangle it out in the middle of the field.
Let's do it. Why not? Let's see how it works. That's what the NFL's on. One thing, too, if you can't lead with the crown of your helmet, we never would have saw that Vikings-Saints play, that missed tackle.
God, that was so bad.
You never would have seen that historic play. And they're trying to remove that? Come on. Let's be real here.
I don't even want to talk about that. That was terrible. Nonetheless, guys, this was our first week of the Mix Week. Keep tuning in to hear more from us about not only basketball, but football. We're even going to work in some soccer and college basketball. Keep you on your toes, So thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate it, guys. If also there's anything you'd like to see us add to any of these different, mixes we're putting together, feel free to let us know, and we will do so, or at least think about it. We can't make any promises. But, thanks for tuning in, guys. This is Sports Salad, and everything's in the mix.